Prior to the welfare state started with Lyndon Johnson and Franklin Roosevelt and his New Deal programs, it was the church that did all the social programs. And so in the 1840s, there was a person named Charles Finney, and he was involved in the Second Great Awakening revival. And he ended up inspiring George Williams to start the YMCA, and his preaching inspired William Booth to start the Salvation Army. And you saw all these groups that actually had together in America, they had a budget larger than the federal government. And they started hospitals and orphanages and took care of the homeless and the wounded veterans, and all this was being done through the church.
For example, if a family had a divorce or a death or an unexpected loss or loss of a job or income or health issues, they would go to the local church, and the local church would work with them to get them back on their feet. And it was called the restorative model. The first thing that they would do is that they would restore the individual to self so that they could actually feel confident about themselves, that they had self-worth. The second thing that they wanted to do was restore the person to faith. What is your faith? How can we invest in it? How can we build it up to reconnect you with faith? The third thing that they worked with was restoring the person back to their family. And so they wanted to get them integrated back into the community so that they could actually give back to the community. The Great Depression hit, the government stepped in and said, we are going to create a system by which we are going to bring people back into the work community. The problem with the model that the government used is they used what is called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And this is what the government decided to use because they wanted it to be absent of the faith community. They used a human development model. Now, it's a great model for human development, but it was one of the first times that they used a human development model and applied it to a social policy. If I provide all of the physical needs of an individual, they will naturally develop into the next level, which is they'll feel safe. And if I provide for them all of their safety needs, they'll feel like they are loved and they will feel like they belong. And once they feel good about themselves, they're going to reach out and give back to the community. Do you think that worked? It didn't work. It ushered in the age of entitlement.
The problem when the government is involved in benevolence and entitlement and in welfare programs, the government is run by politicians who want to get reelected, and the temptation is very strong for them to want to funnel this money that they're handing out to those that can get them reelected. And then it even goes so far as to want the poor to stay poor. So they will always have a voting constituency of those who will believe their promises to give them more, and they'll have their vote.
The American welfare system has become a corrupt system. Let me put it bluntly. There are many, many, many people who have institutionalized living on the sweat of other people's brows. That wouldn't happen if it was administered by faith institutions. It's as simple as that. There wouldn't be hungry people on the streets, and there also wouldn't be people who would be fulfilling multi-generational dysfunctional lifestyles on the government, because churches would dispense not just money, but love. Churches would dispense not just finance, but fiscal responsibility. Churches would dispense not just funds, but also life-restoring behavior.